There's no one like you, my little girl. Your eyes so blue under those brown curls. Soon you're on your way. Promise me that you know the world is yours. Strike them with your glow.
So I'm sitting here waiting for this train to pass, and I thought it'd be a good time to kind of just give a quick little update about really what I was talking about yesterday in our video. I mentioned how Raelynn has a new teacher, and she really likes her new teacher. Like, they really hit it off. But I remembered after I watched that video back that she actually has two new teachers that she really likes. One is through the school, and the school provides, education, the teacher for her, and she comes out, I think it's 3 days a week right now for an hour each day. But we decided, my wife and I decided that wasn't really enough. So we decided to private pay another teacher. And so both of those teachers are coming out to our house, I think 3 times a week for about an hour each time. And she just loves both of them. Like, we've had teachers before where Raelynn just wants to close her eyes and not participate and not make choices and just pretend that she's sleeping the whole time. But she really likes both of these teachers, and she keeps her eyes open the whole time, and she participates and she makes choices. She likes hearing them sing. She likes hearing them read books. And the teacher today came up to me afterwards and said, man, Raelynn is just doing so well. Like, this is a teacher that worked with her years ago, and because schools sometimes shuffle people around, she hasn't been working with Raelynn for the last couple years. But she said, she came up to me after she worked with her today, and she said, Raelynn is just doing so good. And she mentioned how the previous teacher, maybe it was a teacher or two ago, the train passed, so I'm going to go ahead and then I'll continue this in a second. As I was saying, her teacher from, I don't know, it was last time or the time before that, mentioned to the school, I guess, that Raelynn just wasn't making much progress. And the teacher that came today said, no, she's doing awesome. Like, she's participating, her eyes are making choices, she's really paying attention and things like this. And really, just the same thing I was saying yesterday, really goes to show how some people will discount and not realize that kids with disabilities really are doing better than they think they are, than people oftentimes say that they are. And it's oftentimes, I mean, I get it. Oftentimes it's subtle. Like, you really have to know Raelynn and have worked with her to some degree to realize how well she's doing. Like, she'll pay attention more than she used to. She'll make choices with her eyes more than she used to. And compared to other kids, of course, we would look at, if we were just have two kids side by side, Raelynn and a healthy, normal kid next to each other, and you ask both of them a question, of course you would think the other kid is more engaged and more, able to answer questions, because in some ways they are, right? But that doesn't mean Raylynn's not paying attention. It doesn't mean Raelynn isn't able to think about the question and make a choice and these kinds of things. So that's why I really like her eye gaze. And using the eye gaze in some ways is more difficult for her than talking with a person, because a person will give her, feedback, and she can know that it's a person, right? that she's talking to. Whereas through the eye gaze, it's more like a TV, and just because I think she does know that she can make choices on it and move her eyes around and pick what she wants. But in terms of her talking through it, I don't think she's completely aware of that just yet. Like, just how much she's able to actually use it to communicate. I think when she's in the mood to, because one of the things that she does on the eye gaze is pick yes and no. And I think she does that so well because even before we got the eye gaze, that's something that she was used to doing. Like, we would hold up a yes on one side, a no on the other, and it's the same picture that she's used to in terms of answering yes and no. So for answering yes or no, I think she does that pretty good on the eye gaze. She still has to be in the mood. She still has to, want to answer questions and these kinds of things. But answering yes or no, it's pretty similar to what she used to do even off of the eye gaze. So she gets that pretty well. Now, in terms of like other ways to communicating, eventually I'd love for her to be able to, pick pick something on the screen and maybe a picture that represents what she wants to do, even in real life, or what she wants to say to one of us. But that's a hard process because just like it was a hard process for her to choose yes and no, or stop and go and these kinds of things. There's a long process even in real life. It's going to be even longer when there's not a real person standing there and talking to her and saying, which one do you want? And then giving her an immediate thing that corresponds to that. It's just a long process. And, I have to remind myself too, though, that when little kids go to school for the first time, like in preschool, they don't know how to read. They don't know how to, do math and these kinds of things. So it's a long process for them too. Raelynn's learning process is it's a little bit longer than that. Honestly, partially because we didn't have the eye gaze her whole life growing up. They say that if you don't learn certain things at certain milestones growing up, then you'll never learn them. And I think there's something to that with her eye gaze too. Like if she would have had this when she was 2 years old, when other kids are starting to go to preschool, maybe 3-4 years old, when other kids are starting to go to preschool, I think she'd be a whiz at this eye gaze by now, right? Because it would be something that she would just have learned as she matured, as she cognitively was learning all these other things. Now, partially, she didn't get her eye gaze until she was like 10 or 11 years old. So it's like she has to start all over in terms of learning how to communicate. Up until she was 10, she even though we didn't completely understand how she was communicating, I'm sure that she learned certain things in terms of expressing herself, that it's hard for her, not to say that she needs to unlearn them, but hard for her to remember or realize that she can express herself even more through the eye gaze. Her teachers right now, they get it. Like they get that she's able to talk to them using her eyes and interact with people using her eyes. So this is the kind of thing, really once these teachers learn how to use her eye gaze too, and that's something that I wanted to teach them how to do, show how to set it up, show them how to, get it so that Raelynn is in a perfect position so that she can use it, and then she can interact with them through the eye gaze. Once all that's set up, I think Raelynn is going to do phenomenal with learning her eye gaze as well. Like just that one-on-one attention. And not to say that like we should be doing that more than we are. In all honesty, like it's really hard sometimes to say, as a parent, I'm going to be in teacher mode right now. And of course we've done that over the years. Like we of course we're in teacher mode for her oftentimes. But in terms of like saying I'm going to devote a whole hour right now to just sitting with Raelynn and working with her eye gaze. Like we'll give her eye gaze time. We'll give her opportunities to use and navigate her eye gaze herself. But it's a whole another thing entirely for so these teachers come in 3 hours a week, each of them. So that's 6 hours a week. It's a whole other thing entirely to say sitting down with a teacher one-on-one 6 hours a week. Man, I'm getting excited even just thinking about it. And not to say that I want to take over all the things that they do, and redirect all of their teaching just through the eye gaze. I think there's also a benefit to having just the signs that they do, thing on both sides, and talking with them. Because I do want Raelynn to be able to communicate even when she doesn't have her eye gaze with her. So I think that's good too. But even if just a portion of their time is devoted to helping Raelynn to really navigate and learn her eye gaze well, I think that would be so good. Anyway, I just wanted to say she likes her teachers like her teachers see her potential, and I think that's a great thing. You know what, even if life seems hopeless, even if there's lots of limitations and trials and struggles and challenges in life, you really can have hope, you really can have joy, and you really can see the potential in others in having the same thing. Hope that makes sense. God bless you. We'll see you again next time.